Bright
Hello,
Suns.
everyone. Bright Suns, welcome
Hey,
in.
Keith. Tina,
Hope
welcome
everybody's doing
in.
well.
Good to
Welcome in,
see you.
Keith. Welcome in, Tina. Great to see
Good to
y'all
see
today.
you. Yeah. Thanks for joining us for lunch and some Mando Mania.
Yeah.
We are. This is one thing that's kind of good about being a little bit behind on the episodes that we're still talking about it. We're still covering it, and of course next week is. Let me turn my phone down, guys. We're getting
Oh, there you go.
echo.
I was going to say, I thought you
Yeah, that's me.
yeah.
Uh, is that we're still talking about it. We still get to to go through it. And next week, of course, we'll be talking about the season finale.
Mm-hmm.
But this week we are on an episode called "The Believer." It was directed by Taika Waititi, and he does a great job with it. It's chapter 15. And
I thought this one was directed by Rick Famuyiwa.
Did I look up the wrong thing?
I don't know.
I think this one was Taika. Look it up and double check that.
It's directed by Rick.
Okay, and I just wrote down. I just wrote down the wrong thing.
Yeah,
I may have looked up the wrong episode or something. But at any
so
rate,
he's the one that also, which makes sense because he was the one that also directed the Prisoner episode, which
that's true.
As we discussed at the
That's
end
true.
of last week's episode, we see the return of Miggs Mayfield.
We do
in this episode.
Yeah. We do. And of course, that was the first time we had met Miggs, and all learned to really, really hate him. So,
he's not an endearing character. And in the Prisoner episode, however, this episode, my goodness, you want to talk about
redemption,
a character, redeeming himself.
Yeah.
And anytime an actor, and this is kind of a big thing in professional wrestling. Anytime someone can make a turn from being a character that you love to hate to being a character that you love and actually feel, you have empathy for, you know that the actor has done a fantastic job with the role.
That's true.
Anytime you can do it and it's believable, they've done a fantastic job with the role.
He's actually played by Bill Burr, who is a stand-up comedian and actor. And interestingly, I did a little, study on his background. Bill Burr's not a Star Wars fan. Initially, he had actually ridiculed Star Wars fans in the past. And Jon Favreau cast him thinking that his skepticism of the Star Wars franchise and Star Wars fans would lend to his portrayal of the character.
That's interesting.
It does. It really does. Bob, welcome in. So good to see you.
Bob. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for being here. So it actually does. And I think what you said about the character, who goes from being bad to good or even vice versa.
Yeah.
Hey,
Russ, welcome in. Thanks for being here.
It's really true because in order to make you hate, I've always told people the more you despise a character, the better the actor is. If a character is able to really make you just absolutely despise them, and we can think of some. I'm thinking of Harry Potter and the bad guys in Harry Potter.
Welcome in, Francisco. Thanks for being here.
Francisco. Welcome. Okay, who is it that plays? And of course, now my mind is completely blank.
Of course.
They killed Sirius Black.
Oh, it's Bellatrix Lestrange.
Bellatrix Lestrange.
I forget her name every single time.
I do too.
Somebody in the chat will be able to help us out.
Carter. Helena Bonham Carter.
Thanks, Mike Wheeler.
Bellatrix Lestrange in the Harry Potter, in the Harry Potter franchise. And Harry Potter fans, if you're a Harry Potter fan, and a lot of you are, we just despise her because she is such a good actress. and she portrays Bellatrix Lestrange so well. So she's a very talented actor. Now, on the flip side, she also plays the fairy godmother in the live action Cinderella.
Yeah.
So, and she's funny and she's cute. And so, she, that really tells us that she is a really talented actor. And I think the same happens with Bill Burr in this, in The Prisoner, in the episode The Prisoner. We just despised all of those characters that,
they're they all, none of them was was pleasant.
No,
they were all jerks in their own way. Bill Burr's character, when he's making fun of Mando, and
good, all of
he's
them.
holding the baby, and he drops the child, and when they drop out of hyperspace, it's a true testament to all of those actors, to how much that we made their, and the writing as well. We didn't like them.
Tina McNeil. Hey, Tina. Tina McNeil mentions Alan Rickman, who plays Snape in the Harry Potter franchise, and of course, Snape is now. I will just a side note, and I know we've got to move on to what we're supposed to be talking about. But I always thought and felt very strongly, because of different clues in the Harry Potter books along the way, that Snape was in fact loyal to Dumbledore to the last, that he would be loyal to Dumbledore. After he, spoilers ahead, after he supposedly kills Dumbledore, or does kill Dumbledore, then everybody said, Snape,
we're talking Mandalorian.
Oh, how
but we've taken a quick detour real quick.
We're talking about complex characters, and how how a really good actor can so make you either love or hate the character that's being portrayed. We're talking about of course Mayfeld in this episode of The Mandalorian, but a really, really good actor can really, and obviously that's what you want. If you've got a villain, you want an actor who is able to play the villain very well. But actors who are able to do both, they're able to play villains and good guys, let you know that that's a really, really talented and versatile actor. So
absolutely.
Alan Rickman. I'm a huge Alan Rickman fan. I just really, really hated it. I still miss him. I'm so sorry that he passed away, because I loved him in everything. And he played the bad guy a lot. Alan Rickman played the bad guy.
Yeah.
Boondocking with Boomer wants to know if you're too.
Thanks for the shout out to my R2 unit. No, unfortunately he's not for sale. I built him at Galaxy's Edge last year in September, but it's a lot of fun. It's a great experience, and hopefully you'll have the chance to if you haven't already, hopefully you'll have the chance to get down there and see that for yourself, Lance, because it's incredible.
It's amazing. I'm gonna build probably an R2 unit next time we go. Jillian built the
BB unit. Yeah,
she built the BB unit, and it's on a live stream on our channel if you want to take a look. It's
what's it worth? So the droid itself, without the personality chip, I think the personality chip in it is worth $15. I think it's $14.99, $15 with tax. But the droid itself is worth, or I paid, I think $99 to build the droid. And it does all sorts of stuff. There's a remote control that goes with it, that the head spins, and there's lights, and it beeps and everything. And you can drive it around with the little RC controller. And I also think there's an app that you can use too, to make your droid dance and move it around and stuff.
I
haven't downloaded the app yet. But I need to check that out.
It's neat.
So I think it was $99 for the droid. Now there's a package where I think I can't remember the price off the top of my head, but there's a backpack also that you can put your droid in. But I can't remember how much that costs. But They have a package deal, I think, where you can get the droid, a backpack, and a personality chip, but I can't remember the total on that. So Mike Wheeler says you can buy droid parts for the droids on Shop Disney, from my understanding. Also to mention too,
thanks.
Let's see here.
Lance, it's nice to meet you. We appreciate.
Thanks for being here.
Appreciate you subscribing and being here. It's really cool to have you in from Canada. So, new friend from north of the border.
Circling back to the Believer, chapter 15 of the Mandalorian. Nice to meet you. Hey, welcome in AJC Magic TV. Good to see you, Amy.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you, Amy.
So at the end of the last episode, they've determined, Mike Wheeler says $40 for the backpack. So just to give you an idea how much that costs. Also, I think you can buy, I want to say BB-8 and R2D2 have both popped up on the Shop Disney website at some point. Like it's the same version as what I have. It's just that it looks like R2 or it looks like BB-8. Right. But anyway, I think you can buy those now. They, obviously availability changes. I know that they've sold out in the past, but give that a look if you want to check that out, Lance. Back to chapter 15, The Believer. We're picking up Mix Mayfield. He has been charged with 50 years of serving on the Carthon shop fields for springing a prisoner, which is a reference back to the prisoner episode, Quinn, and being involved with the death of a New Republic officer. And he's inmate 34667. Mayfield's working in a scrapyard. It looks like Imperial ships, and I'm assuming he's salvaging parts. Yeah. But it looks like hard labor. Looks very unpleasant. And so this droid walks up to him with a little New Republic logo on its chest. Says he has a new assignment. He's now under Marshal Dune's custody. And he has 3 seconds to comply with his new directive.
Which he does quickly.
But Mix Mayfield is very good at running his mouth. And so he's asking all these questions like, where are you taking me? And so all Cara does is walk away from him.
Yeah, she doesn't respond initially.
Yeah. And so anyway, they get up to the Slave One, which is Boba Fett's ship. And he sees Boba, and he says, for a second, I thought you were this other guy. And he looks a little relieved. Yeah. And then he kind of smiles, and it wipes that smile right off his face as he sees Mando walk his way down the ramp.
And it's interesting because he gets really timid. He drops his eyes when he sees Mando. It's like,
his tail drops between his legs.
It does. It absolutely does, because he, in the last, that's the reason he's there. Mando is basically the reason that he's there. And he has seen Mando in action. Mando took him down pretty hard. And I think that Mayfield fancies himself as quite the tough guy. And, and he was a force to be reckoned with. This is a former Imperial sniper. Imperial sharpshooter. And so, so he fancies himself a force to be reckoned with. And he is, but he absolutely, he kind of, cowers a little bit, Mando, he's afraid he's there to kill him, he has no idea why they're there. Cara, explains to him, hey, I broke some rules to get you here. To take you from this place. And, then Mando, says, you still know you're Imperial. We're taking you with us basically because you're former Imperial. You still know your codes.
You still know your codes. Yeah.
And, and then what's funny is that they all just turn around. They don't say, come on. They just all turn around and walk back into Boba's ship. No, and you see him, he's looking and he's thinking, he looks back at the prison and they know he's going to come.
Looks a little bit longingly at the prison, the chop yards.
Like maybe this is, but he does, he, and they know that he's going to make the decision to come with them instead of staying. But that was amusing. That whole scene was pretty amusing because they all just turn around and walk back in. Kara doesn't force him to get on the ship. You know, they don't hold him at gunpoint and force him to get on the ship because they know he's not going to stay there. So that was kind of amusing. Oh man. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, that's funny, Lance. Yeah, she's
thank
taken.
you, Lance. I am taken. I've been taken for a long, long time.
Happily married to my dad, Jeff.
That's right. William is actually my son, but you are very kind, and I appreciate your compliment on my Star Wars knowledge. I guess I've always loved sci-fi. I've always loved we love Marvel, we love Harry Potter, and so it's kind of our we just enjoy it, you know, like a lot of our other people in the chat and other people in our Disney community. But thank you, that's very sweet. But so
it's a subtle thing. So they all get on the Slave One, but it's a really subtle thing. But it's something to be appreciated. In the background, they're all sitting in the passenger hold of the Slave One, and you see it rotate in the background.
Yes. And you know that it does because you've seen how the ship, changes positions based on whether it's flying or landing. That ship is really cool.
It's shaped really funny, and so I've always wondered, like, what does it look like when he gets
on
in
the inside?
Like,
exactly. Did you guys notice how it rotated as it changed? As it changed places. It's really the attention to detail here in The Mandalorian is fantastic, and that's one of those pieces that I really appreciate how they let us see that that part of it. That's really interesting there, and of course we know that Boba is piloting, of course, and so Mayfeld says, okay, if I help you, then you let me go. And Kara says, that's not how this works. He says, well, what's in it for me? And she says, well, you get a better view. So, there is a little something in it for him, probably. I mean, just the break from the prison is going to be good, but Mayfield, once he realizes what they want, he and they get a little further into this. He says, "You should have left me in prison." So
oh, it's funny. I thought with the cargo hold rotating was probably a really cool moment for those kids that bought that ship as a toy back in the day, and were like, "I wonder how this all works."
Right.
So,
I thought it was too.
This show does such a great job of filling in the blanks. So Mando lets him know, I need the coordinates from Moff Gideon's light cruiser. Mayfeld says, well, I'm not doing that. And he tries to bargain for his freedom, like you said. And, let him know you're looking for the little green guy. I thought it was funny to hear.
Right. They said it
like that.
Yeah.
He says, okay, I'll do it. Need access to an internal Imperial terminal. There's one on Morak, which is a secret Imperial mining hub. And they can get the coordinates if they get him there. Rhydonium, it's a Rhydonium refining facility, which Boba says Rhydonium is highly volatile and explosive. And it's funny because Mayfield tries to crack a joke and say, oh, like this guy.
It's referring to Mando.
He just kind of gives him Boba's like, seriously? Like, for real?
And again, Mayfield goes, okay, I retract it. It's really funny. Yeah. I mean, Mayfield has to realize at this point that he is at a serious disadvantage. He is, he's just got to kind of see what happens. He doesn't really know, what he's getting into, but it's better than staying at the prison guard. So,
100% Russ, absolutely.
I love it. Now all of these later episodes, guys, we've talked about how much we love these later episodes, but I love this one because of, there's several things. I love this one because of the action. I love this one because of the character development. I love how we see older characters come back into this. They introduce them in the first season, they bring them back in the second season, and Mayfeld is an interesting character, and again, I'm glad to see him back, and he really this is a very well written episode, and so we'll get on into that. I'm giving away my summary.
Yeah. So anyway, Cara Dune. So they land on what's the name of the
Borak.
Morak. They land on Morak, and Cara Dune volunteers to go with Mayfield because obviously, I mean, she's the marshal. She's the one charged with
Right.
keeping,
Right.
with his custody. And
So they gotta get in
says, hey, that's not going to work. The
Right.
ex-ISB will scan your genetic signature,
Right.
and they know they'll know it's you. And Mando kind of looks around, and Finnick basically says, "Yeah, I'm wanted by the ISB too."
Right.
And and Boba says, "Let's just say they might recognize my face."
Yeah.
And it's
So all of you realize that everybody in the whole party, including Finnick, would trip the alarm essentially if they go in. So I love it. I love the
same here, Russ.
It's very well written.
He mentions going in alone, but anyway, Mando, kind of flips down his little heat signature radar visor thing, and sees that the driver is wearing a helmet.
Yes.
And Mando says, "I'm going in with you, and I'm not going to be showing my face."
Yeah.
The transport vehicles are really neat looking. They've got 5 wheels on each side. They're kind of segmented. They look kind of like a reptile or like an insect.
They do.
The way that they're shaped.
And I'm thinking that's
kind of snake head, like lizard shape in the front. Yeah.
Yeah, with these huge tires. And it's all, of course it was, whoever it was that designed this transport vehicle thought about, okay, what would a Star Wars vehicle look like that is supposed to transport something that has to be kept really, really steady? Well, they gave it a lot of sections, and big tires, and so it stands to reason that it would look like this. But I think they're the Mars rover. Yeah,
that's cool.
But it looks really cool. It is a neat, really neat, and the way they get into it, and the way the Rhydonium is stored, it's pretty neat because somebody gave a lot of thought to the design of that vehicle.
Yeah. Mayfield, Mando, and Cara drop onto the vehicle as it goes into a tunnel. Cara drops into the driver's seat, driver's area.
Quickly dispatches the drivers.
Punches them out. Smacks their heads off the dashboard. And
they never knew what hit them.
They do such a good job, like fleshing out her physicality.
They do,
but especially Gina Carano's UFC background. But
there goes that crush that both of us have on Gina Carano comes out a lot. I have really become a Gina Carano fan.
It's funny. Mayfield just runs his mouth. He even complained about the guys taking the guy's armor. He's like stinky, and the gloves are still wet from sweat. Then he laughs at Mando walking up. The shame. Mando wearing the trooper outfit. Even Karen says, "Wish I could say it looked good on you, but I'd be lying."
And it's for us as fans, we've watched almost two full seasons. We realize what a compromise that is for Mando, and he has to be struggling with it at this point. He still hasn't shown his face, but at this point
other than the IG,
and
IG-11 wasn't a living thing,
wasn't a living thing, wasn't human, wasn't a living thing, and that's the the Mandalorian code is that you don't show your face to a living thing, which IG-11 pointed out to him, and he allowed him to to save his life in the very first season, but. We're about to see in this episode, and we see a lot of Mayfield the philosopher. Who knew, right? Mayfield, who would ever think that that Mayfield he talks. They board the transport. Mayfield is in the driver's seat, and they board the transport. And I'm thinking the whole time Mayfield is like talking, oh, chef, what would they say on Mandalore? If they saw you now, Mayfield is taking this opportunity to just gently jab a little bit at Mando for what he's doing. And he begins to address, he says, okay,
he questions his creed.
It does.
They jump in. Mando and Mayfield are in the driver's seat, and Mayfield figures out the controls real quick, kind of looks at panel over, figures out how to drive.
Gets him going. Right.
And kind of questions his creed. And he, he says, oh, you have to always wear a helmet. Well, you're not, is it the Mando helmet, or can people not see your face? Like, what is it?
Which is it?
He says, because there is a difference.
As he does.
So he kind of questions, needling, exactly.
Mm-hmm. He's needling him a little bit, and he talked, and he says, now this conversation to me is real interesting, and it's kind of one of the most interesting scenes in this movie because of Mayfield's philosophizing, and he says, at the end of the day, we're a lot alike. And that, at this,
Mando says we're nothing alike.
Mando hasn't said anything. He's like looking straight forward. I'm sure that, Mando's used to this. We've seen it in a lot of other.
He's deflecting. He
just doesn't say anything.
He realized that he was a Gungan in the prisoner episode. He's like, what's he look like under there? I bet he's a Gungan.
So Mando has to be used to this, from other people. And so he's just not responding. He's looking forward until Mayfield says, you and I are a lot alike. We, at the end of the day, we're, everybody compromises when they're put into a corner, basically, when they're pushed so far, and then, your values start to change, you compromise your values. And at that point, Mando says, let's get one thing straight. You and I are nothing alike.
Yeah.
So at this point, Mando has no respect for this guy. He just needs him. He just needs him, and he hasn't done anything to earn Mando's respect at this point.
No, not at all.
And so, so Mando's just trying to, get through it. Let's just get this done. And shut up and drive, basically, I think is what he's thinking. So,
they drive past a wrecked / exploded Rhydonian transport vehicle. Kind of a bit of foreshadowing that this is probably not the safest of professions.
All right.
Figure out that they need to keep it steady for the cargo heat limits and the speed. They drive through a village and get mean mugged by the people. And Mayfield tries to make the point too. He starts off kind of chiding, needling Mando about, his creed, the code that he upholds. And then he says, Empire, New Republic, it's all the same to them. We're just invaders on their land. He said, somewhere, someone in the galaxy is ruling and others are being ruled. And it's interesting because he makes a really valid point. He said, your war, he doesn't say this, but here's the point that he's making, that your worldview is partially shaped on where you're born.
Sure it is.
You think about kind of nature versus nurture, and
right.
The experiences that the experiences that you have, the learning that takes place as you grow up. He mentions Alderaan and Mandalorian, that they're both gone.
It does.
But he tries to say they're both survivors, and Mayfield says that Mando's rules change when it gets desperate. It is interesting. And you have to think that Mando, and he knows that Mayfield's a jerk, and he but you do have to wonder to himself how much of this stuff is running through Mando's head, because he just a few episodes or chapters ago, he encountered those other Mandalorians that said, "Hey, you're a child of the Watch. Like we're real Mandalorians from Mandalore. We don't keep. This is not something that we do." So you have to be wondering if Mando's questioning a bit, even though he's just sitting there and you can't tell.
Well, and it's like you said, after he encounters Bo-Katan and the other Mandalorians in a couple of episodes before this, he has to have been, turning some of this over in his head. He mentions he says, something about Mandalore no longer existing. Well, we know that physically the planet Mandalore does exist. So
just under Imperial rule.
Right. He's talking about the turmoil that man, that's pretty much all we know about Mandalore at this point, is that it is under Imperial rule. That's one reason, that Bo-Katan is on this mission. And, which we learn more about in the next episode. But she, his interactions with her has to be thinking about that.
Yeah.
And so again, we see that he is struggling with his beliefs. He's struggling with, how far am I willing to go to save the child? What is it?
And there's a great quote from Mayfeld where he says, "Look, I'm just saying, we're all the same. Everybody's got their lines they don't cross until things get messy. As far as I'm concerned, if you can make it through your day and still sleep at night, you're doing better than most." Which he makes a direct reference back to this statement at the end of this episode.
He does. So there's a lot of really thoughtfulness that goes into the Mayfeld's backstory, into the interaction of these two characters, and we see Mayfeld the philosopher, and I think it's really interesting. So this is a really neat exchange between Mando and Mayfeld. Mostly Mayfeld monologuing, but we learn a lot about him.
You have to think about his, Mayfeld's own character progression, in that we know he was an ex-Imperial sharpshooter, but you see later on in this episode what's led kind of to his transformation.
Exactly, and his attitude,
change of beliefs. His
current attitude. So we're about to learn a whole lot about Mayfeld.
So they're driving the truck. The two of the transport vehicles get blown up in front of them, and they say over the intercom thing, "Proceed with caution." So these pirates show up, board the transport vehicle. They're trying to blow it up, just like they did the other two we saw. Mayfeld drives while Mando fights off the pirates. Mando starts off shooting with the Imperial blaster, and it malfunctions. And so Mando has to fight pretty much the rest of the time with hand-to-hand combat. Takes a spear from one of them at one point, and Mayfeld screams, "You should have left me in prison!"
At this point, we're introduced to a whole different Mayfeld than the one that we saw in the prior episode. And he it's interesting to me because Bill Burr is actually a stand-up comedian. And slash actor. And so, I really, again, Jon Favreau is masterful at casting, guys, because Bill Burr is perfect for, he plays this role so well. And you see some of that come out in Bill Burr with his facial expressions, when he, drops he's very expressive. His facial expressions are very expressive. He's a good actor, guys, and he's good at comedy because he's a stand-up comedian. So pretty cool. Yeah.
But so Mando wants Mayfeld to to speed up the truck, but they can only go so fast because the Rhydonium will overheat. So Mando, at one point Mando's kind of overtaken by a couple of the pirates. One of them sets a thermal detonator charge, and Mando is able to fight off the two pirates and get to it and throw it into a couple more of the pirate vehicles. And more, and just when you think Mando's gotten some reprieve, more pirates show up, and they're all holding detonators, and then the odds are really stacked against Mando and Mayfeld. You can tell, with these forces, why the other two transport vehicles were blown up. But we've never been so happy to see two TIE fighters bail them out. They blow up the ships. Other pirates try to approach on foot to blow it up. and they're
pirates
taken
just
out by
keep coming.
stormtroopers.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
pirates just keep coming,
waves.
and at one point, Mando just kind of, slumps down
Yeah,
because he's thinking, God, this is just not, this is not
seriously.
going to happen. And
Mhm.
I love the fight scene too, Russ, because
Yeah,
he
that's an
is
excellent
fighting
point.
without his armor. That's an excellent point. So
Yeah,
he has to change his fighting style because he doesn't have that impenetrable Beskar on,
yeah,
and it does show how skilled he really is, in hand to hand combat. But yeah,
yeah,
I love the choreography in the fight scenes. I love, I'll have to say something too at this point about Pedro Pascal and his ability to convey emotion through a
yeah,
helmet.
yeah.
His stunt double is John Wayne's grandson,
Hmm.
and it is said that he and John Wayne's grandson, and we need to look up his name, have kind of developed the character so that he can be more expressive, even though he has to wear the helmet. And
Yeah,
Pedro
like
Pascal,
in his movements and body
yes,
language. Yeah,
yes, that kind of thing. So that they have, I think they've both kind of developed it. But hats off, a helmet's off if
Mhm.
to Pedro Pascal for being able to convey
Yeah,
emotion, and we don't see his face. That's tough.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
tough.
It's really impressive. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, right.
the pirates have been fended off. Mayfield and Mando ride the Rhydonium transport vehicle
Yeah.
into the base, and they're all being saluted by stormtroopers, which is a really funny sight.
Yeah, that's
And
like
they're celebrated like heroes once they get out.
right, right.
Mayfield's just really kind of trying to stay low key about it. Gives them a little salute, and just
There you
kind of
go.
him and Mando go about their business and
Yeah,
kind of make their way over to the officers' mess,
yeah. And once
or
they get
mess
it,
hall.
once they get in there, they're still being cheered, because
Hmm.
the other two transports that we know of were blown to smithereens.
Yeah,
So for them to deliver their cargo, they're being cheered by by the yeah. If you think about it, he had a cheaper armor way before the Beskar upgrade, so it
yeah,
makes sense he feels comfortable without the better armor.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So
Good point.
he is a tough guy. He's a tough
Yeah.
guy. That's for
Uh,
sure.
Mayfield spots the terminal in the officers'
Good.
mess, but
Naturally.
he turns around. He goes to walk in, but
Could
then he
could just
turns
be out in the
around.
corner somewhere.
Uh
It's
huh.
got to be the officer's mess.
Of course.
Yeah.
uh, but he goes in and then he backs out because he sees that there's an officer that he used to report to named Valen Hess,
Yeah.
portrayed by Richard Brake.
Yeah.
Um, but in Mayfield says I reported to him as a field officer, and he wasn't sure
Can't go in.
if he'd
Yeah.
recognize him.
Can't go
Um,
in.
and so anyway, Mando, at this point, he's Mayfield saying, "Let's abort, like let's get out of here." And
Let's
Mando,
do it. Deals
he's
off.
got no choice.
Yeah.
Mando had to have the coordinates to find the child,
Right.
and Mayfield says, "But the terminal has to scan your face," and so Mando has to remove the stormtrooper helmet and let it scan his face.
Yeah.
But we see Mando, he's trying to stay under the radar,
Right.
keep things kind of low key, and
Right.
and so the little timer starts running down because he hasn't shown his face. He pulls his helmet off real quick,
The
gets
terminal.
the
Yeah.
information he needs, but he draws the attention of Valen Hess,
He does.
and and Mando's very slow to answer his questions, and he doesn't give his TK number because he doesn't even, I doubt he even knows what that is. He
Yeah.
just says, I'm transport crew, transport co-pilot, and
Right.
Mayfield bells him out just in time and
He
fast
does.
talks
He
Valen Hess.
does.
And
Yeah.
it's funny because he comes up with an explanation for his slow answers by saying that that Mando's cabin pressure, Mando's cabin, the cabin lost pressure on Tainab, and so they can't hear him. Oh,
I was saying Mando can't hear. No, no. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Well, now, at the time you said that, my headphones went out.
Oh, really? At the same
Yeah.
time? Oh, I was just doing that because of what was happening in the show. You know, he said
can you
that
hear me?
Mando couldn't hear. I can hear you, but
Okay,
it said, you know, he told Val and Hess that was the excuse that he used. He said, "Oh, you're going to have to speak up to this guy, you know, because he's hard of hearing."
It's so funny. He said we just call him Brown Eyes. He doesn't have a name.
Oh man. So Mayfield is slick now.
Yeah.
Mayfield is really slick.
He's a fast talker. He's a smooth operator.
Fast talker, you know, because he knows the protocols. He knows he's trying to get him out of the situation. He takes Mando by the arm and says, let's go follow those reports and take care of that, you know, that transport.
And he says, let's go fill out those TPS reports, which is obviously an Office Space reference.
Yeah.
So really funny.
Paperwork.
So he comes up with a really creative explanation for why, you know, Mando's slow talking, and just as you think, oh, okay, they're going to get out of here. Val and Hess says, "You aren't dismissed."
Yeah,
and all as they try to walk away, and that's funny. Tina says, "We thought you were method acting, Will." Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, exactly, Garrett. Mando looked like he was going to try and make up the number.
Yeah, he's kind of panicking. But
So Val and Hess invites them over for a drink, and it cuts real fast to Cara Dune and Fennec Shand. They're keeping an eye out on the cannons and the troopers that they're going to need to take out, so Boba can sweep in with the Slave One and pick up Mando and Mayfield.
Yeah, they're essentially sniping from the ridge.
This next scene and the dialogue between the characters in this next scene is just absolutely top notch.
Yeah.
Val and Hess, so they sit down. Val and Hess ask them what they should toast to, and and Mayfield suggests Operation Cinder.
Mm-hmm.
And so, look at the background.
Val and Hess, by the way, is portrayed by actor Richard Brake, which we mentioned earlier. But he also portrayed Joe Chill in Batman Begins, who murders Bruce Wayne's parents. I've seen him in several different things. He also was in Game of Thrones. You might recognize him from that. I never watched a single episode of Game of Thrones, so that doesn't help me with him. But he also did a brief appearance in Thor: The Dark World as a guard who reports to Odin. So he's been around for a long time, and I have seen him in several things. I didn't look up his entire filmography, but he's a good actor, and he's pretty perfect for this role. As we've said before, the casting is amazing. Yeah. So he says, you know, he makes a toast. He begins a toast, and I'm sure that when Mayfield first lays eyes on him, all of this has to come flooding back.
Yeah.
And so now that they're sitting at the table and he says, "What shall we toast to?" Again, I didn't mean to take away from what you were saying, but he brings up Operation Cinder.
Yeah.
And you can tell again from Mayfield's reaction that Operation Cinder must have been pretty serious.
Yeah.
And so, you know, go ahead, William.
Operation Cinder was the code name for the orbital bombardment, and I'm citing StarWars.fandom.com. It's a campaign devised by Galactic Emperor Darth Sidious, who sought to punish the Galactic Empire for failing to prevent his death.
Yeah.
Following the Emperor's demise during the Galactic Civil War and the Battle of Endor in 4 ABY, his posthumous directions were relayed to loyal Imperial officers by Sentinel messenger droids. They targeted planets across the galaxy, including Burning Con, Candavant, Abednedo, Comenor and Necronis, as well as Vardos, which was a world known for its loyalty to the Empire.
Yeah.
But a posthumous message from Emperor Palpatine said, Operation Cinder is to begin at once. Resistance, rebellion, defiance, these are all concepts which cannot be allowed to persist. You are but one of many tools by which these ideas shall be burned away. And so in the Star Wars Battlefront 2 video game, there's a character, the main character in the storyline is Iden Versio, who's starts off as an Imperial commander and a heck of a pilot. But her home world is Vardos, and Vardos is destroyed during Operation Cinder, and she's just freaking out. Because like she tries to like say, she's like, Vardos has always been loyal to the Empire. Like, why are we doing this? And it's a show of power, and it's to instill fear in other planets.
Have you, just a question, have you ever played Battlefront 2, William?
Me?
Have you ever played?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I beat the game. I've got it on Xbox One.
Cool.
Welcome in, Elena. Aloha.
Good to see you.
So Mayfeld suggests Operation Cinder, which was just terrible. I mean, for them to destroy their own forces just to keep them from getting into the hands of the New Republic is just messed up. And so he suggests Operation Cinder. Mayfeld says, I lived it. I was in Burning Con. And Valen Hess's response was, that was a hard day. I had to make many unpleasant decisions. And Mayfeld says, the entire city gone in moments, along with everybody in it. He says, we lost our whole division that day, like 5,000 or 10,000 people. And so, and there's the dialogue in this scene is just top notch.
Really
it's fantastic.
Incredible. And the whole time, Mando is like looking, he's going, oh man, this is,
it's like a tennis match.
It is. It is. He's like, oh yeah.
And Valen Hess completely discounts the lives of these people. He says all heroes of the Empire.
Yeah, and all dead.
And Mayfeld says, and all dead.
It's very intense. It's a very
their
intense.
view is so clouded and depraved and warped because they have such an extreme loyalty to the Empire, to the Emperor.
It's true.
And so, and here it's a classic example. Mayfeld reported to Valen Hess directly as a field operator, and he doesn't even recognize him because at the end of the day, they're these lower level troopers, stormtroopers are expendable.
They are.
Their lives have no meaning to him. Anytime one of them dies, it's not tragic in their eyes. Because it's all meant to further the cause of the Empire.
It is. And at
so lost and depraved. It's terrible.
At one point, Valen Hess says something that, and I'm the daughter of a World War II veteran. And so this really resonated with me as to the first order, the Empire. The Empire initially was modeled after the Nazis.
Yeah,
and so Valen Hess says, "You see, boys, everybody thinks they want freedom, when what they really want is order."
Yeah,
and that he says we'll come back into this, and the people will welcome us back with open arms. The Rhydonium shipment that you just brought in will make Burning Con look like nothing.
Yeah.
And Mayfeld, you can see it in his eyes. The tension, tension is really built there, and that Mayfeld's is going to pop.
I've heard that he does a very anytime someone experiences kind of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. I've heard that he portrays it very well. Just a blank stare, almost like he loses control of his own faculties. You could tell how much this is impacting him. This conversation, how it's bringing him all these flashbacks to these terrible things that he's seen. So the quotes between the two. Valen Hess says, "Well, it's a small sacrifice for the greater good, son." Mayfeld says, "Depends on who you ask, don't you think? All the people, all the ones who died, was it good for them, their families, the guys I served with, civilians?
Really,
those poor mud scuffers died defending their homes, fighting for freedom. Was it good for them?" And Valen Hess just explains it away and says, "But we've outlasted them, son.
He just discounts
They're eating themselves alive. The New Republic is in complete disarray, and we grow stronger. You see, with the rhydonium you deliver, we can create havoc that's going to make Burning Khan just pale by comparison. Then they're going to turn to us once again."
Yeah. It's typical. It is typical. It's typical.
It's tyranny.
Tyrannical dictatorship, Marxism, communism. Those of us who studied, Marxism and communism in school, and who, have lived through some of it. The United States has liberated countries from that kind of tyranny before, and so we recognize it. We recognize that type attitude, that cold, evil. We will accomplish our goals, and we will, subdue everybody. That these people are dictatorial. They're very hard-nosed, and evil. So there's so much, the First Order, the Empire, all throughout Star Wars. George Lucas has said that he modeled the Empire and a lot of it after the Nazis, and so you can see that it's
the quote that really caps it off and pushes Mayfeld over the edge is, "You see, boys, everybody thinks that they want freedom. Well, what they really want is order. And when they realize that, they're going to welcome us back with open arms to the Empire."
Yeah, and and that pretty
at that moment, Mayfeld snaps and shoots him. And it's so funny because you see one guy with looks like he has a lunch tray. And he's got no clue what's going on. And Mayfeld just turns and blasts him too. And they take out everybody else in there. And Mayfeld says to Mando, he goes to hand him the helmet back so he can put it on. He said, "You did what you had to do. I never saw your face."
Yeah.
So you definitely feel like there's some justification, there's some redemption for Mayfeld's character.
Yeah, for Mayfeld. And you so just from that brief encounter, the dialogue is so intense that we get an understanding of why Mayfeld has the worldview that he has, why he is the person that he is. There's some deep-seated. I mean, we can't imagine something like that to have, be a part of something like that. And so Mayfeld's, all of Mayfeld's hang-ups and what it's like you mentioned, PTSD. He's dealing with a lot. A lot. So we get a good picture of that, and then he shoots the guy. He just snaps and shoots the guy. And then it's like the other soldier there with the lunch tray. Mayfeld looks over at his heel. Well, it's kind of hit the fan now, and he has no choice. He shoots him, and then all of the sound and everything brings more troopers. But Mayfeld does pick up Mando's helmet and hand it back to him and say, "You did what you had to do. I never saw your face," which earns big points. So we learned that this guy has some redeeming qualities, which we had.
He does have some honor.
He does have some honor, and so they fight their way out. They're out the back. They knock out the back window and climb up to the roof, which is where they're supposed to meet. Boba, is supposed to pick them up, drop in and pick them up. So,
Yeah.
and the fight scene is really good there, with them. Mando
they got to shoot their way out. At the same time, they're trying to get out of there, climb their way on top of the base. Kara and Finnick are sniping troopers as they try, as Mando and Mayfield are trying to get away. So Boba can extract them. Mando and Mayfield jump onto the slave one, and Mayfield asks for the cycler rifle. And as they're flying away, he lands a sniper shot that blows up the Rhydonium truck.
It does.
And it impresses Kara and Finnick. But it also shocks Kara a little bit.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Well, and she's like us. She thinks the guy has no redeeming qualities at this point. And Finnick goes, huh, nice shot.
Nice shot.
And Kara goes, huh. Yeah. And we're all kind of going, huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
he explains his actions, and all he says is, "We all need to sleep at night."
Yeah.
His mind goes to Burning Khan, and he knew if he had a shot at preventing that from happening to anyone else, he was going to take it.
Yeah, and
sure enough, he took it.
Yeah, he did. And so that they make it out. And the scene there as they're leaving and the Imperial forces follow them.
Yeah, the two TIE fighters chase.
Boba Fett's got something for him there.
Yeah, Boba Fett drops that seismic charge and straight up blows those two TIE fighters away.
Mikey, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Yeah.
But Mando thanks Mayfield for his help. Mayfield wishes, Mando the best in finding the child. Hope you get your kid back. Kara says, that was some nice shooting back there. And Mayfield kind of goes to dismiss it. Oh, you saw that, huh? And he said, I was just getting some stuff off my chest. And it's at that moment, Kara says, well, it's too bad that Mayfield died in the refinery explosion. Yeah,
inmate 34667 died in the refinery explosion. Mando says, "Yeah, too bad." And at that point, Mayfield realizes, oh my goodness, they're gonna let me leave. He's got to be thinking one of two things: they're either about to shoot me, or they're gonna let me go. So, and he says, "So I can leave because I will."
Yeah.
And really, I figured that that's what was going to happen, after he, does so much to, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
And Mayfield, who was an enemy of Mando's, has now proven that he is his friend because they have a common enemy, which is the Empire. And he understands how badly Mayfield hates the Empire. So he's now become a friend. So
it's pretty neat.
It's a great
Mayfield, we talked about this earlier, but if I'm Mayfield, man, drop me off somewhere else. I don't think I want to be on this planet anymore.
Exactly. But again, it's got to be better than the prison.
Oh, yeah.
So, he'll take anywhere over the prison, but I'm like you. I kind of thought, I don't know if I'd want to stay on this particular planet.
Yeah, he might have been pushing it a little bit.
to hitch a ride somewhere else.
Yourself, Tina.
Yeah, I think so.
But
that's true.
So they got the coordinates from on Moff Gideon's freighter.
It did.
And Mando, a little bit of almost channels a Liam Neeson-esque moment, and pretty much throws down the gauntlet, and
it does.
Uses a lot of the lines that Moff Gideon used on Mando previously.
He goes
saying that you have something I want. You may think you have some idea of what you're in possession of, but you do not. And obviously hits it with, he means more to me than you will ever know.
Yeah.
And so Mando's saying, I'm coming for you.
Oh, yeah.
Moff Gideon.
Yeah. Mando goes on offense here. He doesn't, there's not going to be a sneak attack. There's not going to be, it's just you and me. And I'm coming for you. And the kid's going to be back with me pretty soon. And That's just how it's going to be,
Yeah.
And so, I love that hollow. I love that hollow message. I said,
That's a
Mando,
great transmission.
it's a great transmission. And, I don't know that, that Moff Gideon is probably so arrogant at this point that he doesn't think much of it, but, he's also about to be made a believer. So, okay, question. And I know we've got to wrap it up pretty quick here, but why is this episode entitled The Believer?
Well, man.
Why is it entitled The
Believer? What do you think?
Who is the believer? I think it has to do with Mayfield.
Yeah.
I think maybe this is a part of it. Mayfield in his dialogue in the transport with Mando, it's like he doesn't necessarily believe in anything anymore because of the trauma that he's gone through. He's saying, if you're from Alderaan, you believe one thing. If you're from Mandalore, you believe something else. And everybody's the same. And
I think you're right.
Nobody's necessarily right. It's just, and so, but at the end of it, it's kind of like, Tina said, made the comment earlier that he's kind of redeemed himself. And I think in doing that, in taking out the refinery and kind of striking back against something that was so evil that happened to him, it's sort of restored his faith. Yeah. And he's a believer again. He has something, he can believe in something that is actually good. It's not, it's not Empire, Republic. It's all the same to these people. No, he with his actions on that day, his belief has been restored. His belief in good has been restored. And I think that's why it's called The Believer.
Yeah. I think Russ also makes a good point. He changes his belief by taking off his helmet. It's interesting. I think you make a really good point with Mayfield as well. To go from to go from having experienced such trauma and seen such devastation and such horror to have to behold, to believing everybody kind of has their own truth. It just depends on what's happened to you, where you grew up, where you were born. I think you're right. I think there is a change in perspective. Because he mentions, he's like, if it doesn't matter that the Empire's in control versus the New Republic, why shoot the Rhydonium?
Exactly. So
if maybe they make the horrors that come with the Empire trying to establish order across the galaxy are the horrors that come from that are worth fighting against.
Yes.
And
there are things that are worth dying for. There are things that are worth fighting for. And I think with all of this that happens, Mayfield takes this opportunity to kind of redeem himself, because he's one of the bad guys during Burning Con and all that. He's an Imperial sharpshooter, and so this kind of gives him some redemption. I think it's the nail in the coffin. It's the end of the chapter for his character, unless we see him again at some point. He finally has some peace, to deal with. And he has his freedom back.
He can cope.
He has his freedom back, and so now that so will we see him take this shot and run with it and do good with it? I hope we do see his character again. I really do. Um, um, as far as Mando, say that it's Mando who changes his beliefs by taking off his helmet. Well, I don't know that he changes his beliefs necessarily.
I mean, his beliefs are definitely challenged by Mayfeld, and he does remove his helmet for the sake of rescuing the child.
He does. So he, Mando, I think. Mando, if you think about it, Mando's kind of been on this big long journey since the series started, because he started out as a bounty hunter, guys. He was in it for the money. Mandalorians were largely bounty hunters, and so the child and his relationship with the child and his charge, by the armor, you're now a clan of two, and his charge to take care of the child and return him to his people. Mando has been changing and becoming more human as this process has gone on. He's not cold-hearted bounty hunter like we saw in that very first episode when he comes through the doors after after his first in that first scene, after his first bounty. So he's kind of been on this journey, and the child has caused him to change a lot of his thinking. So his beliefs have morphed throughout the series. His beliefs
they've changed over time. Garrett says, isn't the term imperial sharpshooter an oxymoron? And then Russ said it could be a play on the song too, that I saw your face, now I'm a believer. But yeah, so that pretty much wraps up this episode. It's fantastic. Bill Burr does a great job. The writing's great. Shout out to Rick Famuyiwa for his work on this episode and on The Prisoner. And so it's just top-notch episode. The dialogue is fantastic.
Right.
It's excellent all around.
Yeah. Just quickly. I think what I said earlier about Mayfeld, now having something to believe in. Mayfeld witnessed Mando, believing in taking care of this child to the point that he would take off his helmet. So I feel like that's a part of it too, in that Mayfeld says, wow, this guy believes in this cause so much that he is willing to take off his helmet. He is willing to do what it takes to save a life. Is the helmet, is the philosophy in the helmet more important than saving the child's life? And Mayfeld, I think, gains new respect for Mando. And that's the reason he hands his helmet back and says, I never saw your face, So I think all of that together, when we see Mayfeld again, he may be a different character. So, yeah.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to mention on this episode?
I can't think of anything else. I think it was fantastic. We have seen throughout this whole thing, we've seen a lot of people, risk their lives to rescue this child. Yeah. And people who, were even enemies, such as Apollo Creed, have kind of changed their opinions about him. He's won a lot of people over. This kid, this cute little kid, and now there are a lot of people trying to protect him. So this next episode is going to be a lot of fun. This next one is the big one. So
yeah. Everybody strap in, bring your popcorn for the next episode.
Absolutely, and
it's
Russ,
so great.
bring us the oxygen, because we're all going to need. We're all going to need to take a breath and breathe, because this next episode is the best Star Wars content I've seen since in 43 years. So just so you know, nothing to see here. Again, the next episode, I know most of y'all have already seen it, but it is. I've been waiting for this episode since 1977, so it's amazing. So yeah, we're definitely gonna need to take a breath and jump into it. So y'all be with us because I'm real interested in what you think too.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right. Let's see. Any announcements or anything you want to make real quick?
Let's see. We Bob with One Stop Mouse is going to guest on Hitchhiker Chat next week. He's going to just kind of do a guest appearance for us. We're excited to have him. He was in the chat earlier, and so Bob will be with us. One Stop Mouse. Go check out his channel, guys. Bob is really creative with. He does a lot of green screen tech. Really creative with it, and he's just getting better at using it. So his videos are a lot of fun. We have some new shorts up on the channel, and I would like to say I really think that Jedi Master Will needs to make another appearance on the channel. So yeah, I think
we'll see. I have to tune in next week to find out.
Yeah, we have Jedi Master Will made an appearance right after the final episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian, and it has the most views of any video by far on our channel. So yeah. I'm thinking Jedi Master Will needs to come back, and it was a 35-second short. So I think he needs to come back definitely. And Tina agrees. Yeah. So that's kind of what we've got coming up, guys. And I'm hoping to get a video out. Hoping to get a video out pretty soon, and so y'all kind of be looking for that. But we really appreciate you being here, all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Shout out to Aunt Susan, Aunt Joy. Shout out to BDF Keith, Team McNeil, DCS, One Stop Mouse, What in the World with Russ, Francisco, Mike Wheeler, Boondocking with Boomer. Welcome, glad to have you here today, Lance. Amy of AJC Magic TV, and Garrett of Monarch Moments. So thanks to everybody for being here today. Shout out to everybody that watched and may not have said anything in the live chat. Yeah. If you're on hashtag replay, let us know that you're watching. We love talking about The Mandalorian, and hopefully you've enjoyed our analysis and our thoughts on the episode. And
and let us know yours again in the comments. Let us know, if you're ninja watching or what have you. Let us know because we appreciate you. We know that there are people who do watch without commenting. We appreciate you guys too. So always.
Yeah. Check us out on we're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and Twitter. Like, subscribe, and comment if you enjoyed today's video. And anything else you wanted to mention, Mom?
Can't think of a thing. Just really, really enjoyed this episode, and really looking forward to next week. So and
thanks everyone.
Hopefully we'll have some treats next week. I'm gonna be opening that Galaxy's Edge cookbook again next week. So y'all come back for that.
Sounds good. Till the spire, everyone. We have spoken. This is the way. And let's see. Remember, there's always room for one more at the Hitchhiking Bones YouTube channel. So thanks again, everyone. And please
hurry back. Thanks again,
everyone. Till the spire.
Till the spires.
May the force be with you.